Welcome back to All Mama All Right, where we jump into all things mama and all things this mama. So, so far, you've gotten to know me a little bit, and thank you for sticking with me as I learn the ins and outs of YouTube channel and filming and really just talking to myself, which right now I notice I'm looking over here. Why? And I'm over here. And oh, there you guys are. And my and my yeah. And let's see. So I'm just gonna breathe. And I know with time, all of this will just feel like more of a conversation, which is ultimately what I want this platform and my Instagram and future podcast to be, is a place where everyone can go to not feel alone, to be seen, to be heard, to feel comforted, to receive compassion, and be just that much more understood and even held in a safe space. And you can get some of your yeses in and your me too's, which feels so good. Head nods, love a good head nod. Yep, yep. Oh, silent and the best kind of deadly. So let's just jump right in. Previously, I set some intentions and some agreements with self, if you will, for myself as now a 35-year-old. And the first one is let go and let God. So today I'm going to talk about my sobriety and recovery and what that looks like. How we do it in the rooms is start with what it was like and what happened and what it's like now. What it was like, I grew up in the Bay Area, 3 siblings, 2 parents. You'd think a white picket fence was somewhere. We never did have a house with a white picket fence. But I always believed I was born an alcoholic because of certain characteristics that I just had. I loved to lie. I manipulated situations, and I was always looking for the next best secret and how to keep that secret. A couple examples that I'm sure, family, if you're listening to this, you're just either going to shake your head or be like, oh my gosh, I was trying to forget that. But it was before second grade, so probably in kindergarten or even younger. I stole my sister's Girl Scout cookies, hid them under my bed, and would eat them. And then you hear your mom, oh, looking for the Girl Scout cookies. April, have you seen the Girl Scout cookies? And with every situation that I found myself in when there were secrets involved, I was usually caught before I knew I was caught. But again, that didn't matter. Also with stealing, and again with the manipulation, I stole my neighbor's. Do you guys remember Pogs and Slammers? Like that whole phase that a few of us 80s kids went through. And I stole them from my neighbors, brought them to school, first grade, would sell them for money, and then would take the money and go to the ice cream truck. So maybe I should have been. I was never addicted to gambling or anything like that, but it was sneaky. It was so sneaky. And then once I was caught, you have to replace them, and the guilt, the shame, and yet I those, I don't know if they were learned, but they were definitely types of behavior that just stuck with me for forever. And I really started drinking. So with all those types of behaviors, perfectionism and self-sabotage are also huge I want to say are still huge parts of me, but they have lessened a lot. I know how to be aware of them when they're coming up. But growing up, not knowing what they were and having them both at the same time, they don't balance each other out. They eliminate each other. So if I wasn't perfect, then I would completely purposely self-sabotage. And that looked like if I felt like I was doing horribly on a test, I would, and even when I say horribly, I probably was looking at like a B, which is comical to think back on. But again, it wasn't perfect in my eyes. So then I would, lots of hard scribbles and, you know, I got this one wrong, teacher. Also, we just recently found a scorecard from bowling, and we would go like every summer bowling, and I have zeros across the board. Why is that? Because I didn't get a strike the first time I threw the ball down the lane. Everyone else was doing better. So I could just picture myself chucking this bowling ball down the lane. And that's how I would go through life. If I felt like I wasn't doing something perfect, I would chuck bowling balls down lanes here, there, everywhere. From not making sports teams to not getting good grades to not singing on the correct note to you name it. I perfectly sabotaged it. And basically tantrums is what they is what they call them. So I should probably ask my parents how often I threw tantrums. And but my drinking really started when I was 16. I would have glasses of family, you're gonna laugh. You remember cold duck? Cold duck, here and there. And the and when I turned 16, it was just I felt like, okay, now I can actually use this substance because people around me were starting to use this substance that I knew when I drank made something in me feel, oh, all right. It made something in me feel all right that I didn't want to admit to anyone else because I didn't know if anyone else was feeling that way until I was 16 and I started hanging out with certain people who also wanted to drink alcohol and, get the fake ID, go out to clubs in San Francisco and wear the skimpy clothing that, oh my gosh, parents, I don't know how you survived allowing me to go out of the house. Now that I have a daughter, I can't imagine. I will cross that bridge when it comes, but uh that's 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 it. I mean, and from the second that I drank, I was trying to get more. I was trying to do it secretly, and I was trying to keep up the facade that I expected everyone around me, that I thought everyone expected everyone around me to have. And that was looking good on the outside, feeling so confused and lost and unable to control something I really wanted to control on the inside from day one. I remember this one time we were in we used to have sleepovers outside in backyards in tents. And okay, parents out there, try, I mean, you can let your kids do this, but we literally have a tent in the backyard, and of course, then we sneak out and go kiss boys, and then sneak back in, and blah 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 blah. But one time we had a beer and we were passing it around, and I remember always needing to think I needed to take the biggest sip, but without them knowing that I took a big sip. So I would try and like drink water and hold it in my mouth before the bottle would get to me. And so I would like spit the water in, to drink a big gulp, hoping to get some big water, like exhausting, exhausting. My drinking from the start was always exhausting. I never had fun drinking. And that may surprise people. I was always trying to control it. And because it was still in line with my body image and how I thought I had to look and how I tried to look on the outside and needing to do most of it secretly, I could never relax. So, and I would always, and I was always a blackout drinker. So always blacking out. And it got to the point where people thought I was allergic to people. Just that's where's April going to end up? In the dumpster, outside in the gutter. And when you're young, it's funny, I guess. And I remember waking up just and all of us kind of sitting, okay, like let's tell April what she did last night. And it it was so shameful and painful that stuff. I actually the term I put towards that, or the person that did all the things while I was blackout, her name was Lurpa, and that's April backwards. So whenever someone's like, "Oh, you made out with like 3 people last night," I'd be like, "No, I didn't. Lurpa did." "Oh, you completely threw up over there." I was like, "No, I didn't. Lurpa did." And that was how I survived. I survived with Lurpa, even though I hate that bitch. Sorry. She was serving a purpose, I'm sure, but man, um, so high school tried, not to, I started and I just didn't stop. I pulled my first geographic, is what we call it in the rooms, is that when you think you can move somewhere, completely change your life, become a new, amazing person. And where do you end up? Well, you bring you with you wherever you go, which is, gosh, I think I just learned that today. But I went to the University of Kansas. And again, I left all my high school buds at home, and I thought, this is a new, I, I, I don't have to know anyone. I can just start fresh. And I had a rocky start at the beginning, not because of drinking, surprise, surprise, but because I was so afraid with not showing up as, again, that facade, and what the Kansas girls had labeled me as was Cali girl. I wonder why. So I was trying to be the Cali girl. I was trying to be the Cali girl through Rush. And for all you guys that know sorority life, that's a whole other pot of brewing. And and so I got super sick. So I kind of missed the first 2 weeks to a month of my freshman year of college, which in my eyes, and what I used as an excuse for so long, threw me off my course because I lost control. I I didn't start school the way I wanted to. I didn't go to the socials the way I wanted to, and I didn't get the new boyfriend the way I wanted to. I ended up keeping or not keeping my high school boyfriend. You can't keep someone, but I stayed with my high school boyfriend after, or we got back to, together, kind of when things didn't work out the way I wanted to. And that goes, he safe, security, because everything else was out of control. And completely serving a purpose in my life. And the drinking just never stopped. And it was so, I just kept drinking secretly. Everyone was like, how the hell did you get so drunk? Well, it's because, how I was the only one with the fake, or I am the only one with a fake ID. And you asked me to buy 2 cases. Well, I bought 2 cases and a fifth. Where'd that fifth go? I chugged a fourth of it before we went out. I held a beer. By the time that all the shots hit me, holy moly, I've already been talking for 15 minutes, y'all. I'm trying to keep this down to like a time so I keep everyone's attention, but we'll see how that goes. And yeah, so basically, just drank all the way through college, all lost, burnt all those relationships. And those were some girls that, they're most of them are still friends, and you hate to have regrets, but I was still so young in my disease, so not willing to name it, that I I was lurpifying everything. It was not me. I was blame, 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 point, point, point. And that's another thing that before we go through the steps, we really just, it's everyone else's fault. I'm perfect. Blah, 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 blah. Let's fast forward to jobs. I was lucky to have gotten jobs, but I'm just gonna rip the Band-Aid. I was intoxicated almost 24/7. I would drink, so vodka was my jam, really only my jam. I believe if I'd cut myself on accident, like it would be clear liquid and I would probably drink it up. Uh, I I just couldn't. I was still not, again, ready to name that something was wrong because it was kind of working. Again, I have a job. I have boyfriends. Was I dating people at this time? Who knows? But nothing good. And I was, trying to be so secretive about it, so secretive about everything, thinking I look good on the outside, I'm dying on the inside. I look good on the outside, I'm dying on the inside. No normal human takes 2 shots of alcohol before when they wake up, chased with grapes, because again, I was struggling with an eating disorder. So there was no way I was gonna, you know, I was still trying to control all the calories. And then have alcohol in water bottles and other crazy stuff. Crazy, crazy, crazy. And unfortunately, it unfortunately, fortunately, it lasted the length of time that it was supposed to. And the first time I tried getting sober, it wasn't for me. My brother and I were super close in age, and we were like, his friends were my friends were his friends. And when he wanted to turn a page in his life to better himself, I lost my partner. I lost my the go-to person who, if I couldn't grab a buddy to, do certain things with, I would grab my brother, and vice versa. And he met the love of his life, and they wanted to create a life together. And I was not going to be in it when I was in my disease, and he was so ready to get out of what he was doing. So that's when it was kind of like all eyes were now on me. And and I went to rehab, but I went to rehab for other people, not for myself. And that is the one thing that, if you learn anything or take anything away from this, it'll only work to get sober or to work on your finances or to anything that you want to better yourself in. You have to do it for you. Like, I can't even get sober for Zena. I can't stay sober for her. I have to stay sober for myself. And she's definitely a part of me. But if I don't do it for me, then it's not going to last. It's not going to last. And that's just, I'm speaking from experience. So first in rehab, didn't work. I treated it like a spa. Sorry, parents. Got super fit though. And then, just pulled the next geographic by going to Australia with in a toxic relationship, then went to the Caribbean, the same toxic relationship, and thinking I could change, I could change, I could change. And even in the Caribbean, my drinking, still so around the clock. But, and again, how secretive was it? Probably not, because everyone, once I started getting sober, they're like, well, finally, we all knew that we were pretty much drunk the entire time. Um, and, um, and then, you know, I was then getting exhausted. I was starting to get so exhausted of myself, of my LERPA, and of being so alone. I had like one person that I held on to and became so codependent with. And I love this person so much for what they were serving in my life, but it wasn't right. And I you know wasn't able to wake up to that until I was able to wake up to wanting to get sober. And that really happened. I'm gonna get emotional. I we again, my family was all growing, and my brother and his wife had adopted a little boy. And um there was this one day, kind of back up a little bit. Again, I was my usual wake up, finish whatever I didn't finish, a vodka from the night before, get ready for work, go to work, do that jazz. At this point, it was a yoga studio, which love. Um, and my family probably thought I was trying to get sober, which in the back of my mind, I was always trying to, but was never. And and for some reason, I was like, I'm gonna get tequila. Let's just mix it up. So I got 2/5 of tequila. Again, why one person needs 2/5 of tequila. At that point, I wasn't even buying 2/5 of vodka, so I don't even know what was going on. Then limes and salt, and I was literally gonna have like a little ceremony. And then I did that. And so I reflecting back, I don't know what was going on with me, but now looking at it, it was as if I was ceremoniously just getting ready to accept that I was going to die young, or I was going to die. And maybe that was how I was going to go. Because all the hope was gone. And that day, I got a call from my dad, and my brother and my sister-in-law had lost their 7-month-old. He had passed away in his sleep, and I just fell to the floor. And I remember thinking, I am trying to basically kill myself, and a little child has just lost his life for no reason of his own, for no he had nothing to do with it, nothing to do with it. And here I am, taking advantage of this beautiful existence that I am so blinded to, because I think a substance is going to cure the pain that I'm not ready to face. And it just, I was pretty intoxicated at that point, but I was like, all I have to do is show up. All I have to do is show up, just show up, just show up, just show up. And I have, in that, it was just such my first awakening to how precious life is, and that I it's not my will that will be done. And what I think I'm controlling, I'm not. And I better start living, because it's not fair to anyone else that I'm I'm not. And the best thing that I was able to do is just show up. And that was a night that horrifically changed wanting to get sober. Um, I I then, it still took me time. It still took me one good hell of a bottom where I showed up incredibly intoxicated to my Baba's house and ruining an Easter holiday. And it still took me one more stint in rehab. And it takes what it takes. But my hot pink shovel, I was finally ready to put down and stop digging. And I am so freaking grateful. And that's why I say now that I'm a grateful alcoholic, that God had a plan for me. And it wasn't me drinking 2/5 of tequila. And it wasn't me not making it home any of those blackout nights. And it wasn't about me, who knows, but it wasn't about me. And I am, where I am. So that's just what happened, what it was like, what happened. And what it's like now is I get to feel and listen and show up the way that I want to show up, not the way that I think I'm supposed to show up in the eyes of others. I get to love, I get to be loved. I met my husband when I was really trying to get sober. Speaking of self sabotage, we had started dating, and then and then things were going so well, and I was so not used to that that I relapsed. I was like, things are too good. He's going to leave me. He's going to call me out on some sort of bullshit that, oh, wine bottle by the sink, not mine, my roommates. I hate wine like this. That let's just chug it. And it was one of those just like, April Elizabeth Kelleher, you're doing this to yourself. You're doing this to yourself yet again. And I was not able to see this or feel this until I started working the steps, turning it over, believing in something greater than myself. It's not the substance. You put down the drink so you can start working on yourself and start feeling, learning what the heck a next right thing is. And I just want to owe so much of my sobriety to the relationships that I've been able to build back, my family, to the ones that we've lost, and the little soul that helped save me. I owe my life to him, and all my sober friends that keep me in check, and to my, again, shout out to my sponsor. Man, she was my officiant at our wedding, and she is a complete rock star. She teaches me how to shake my bonbon, Miss Bonnie, all the time. And I still show up to meetings. I'm still putting in the work. I will be nowhere unless I'm sober. I will lose anything if I don't stay sober. And that is how the cookie crumbles, according to Anchorman. And all mama, apparently. So I just want to leave everybody with hope. And hope, I find, is in hearing other people's experiences. HOPE, hope. And I hope that y'all were able to take something from my story. And if you know anyone who's struggling and needs to jump on in, I am all here, and I will always hold space, listen, be present, and This is the greatest gift that God can give me is a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth, a sixth, a seventh. Um, I want to promise him that I don't need any more chances from him, and I will always be true. Secrets. Look at that, 30 minutes exactly. I am a rock star. Oh gosh. Well, I feel better from sharing, and I feel like I am ready for a nap. And let's all nap together. So until next time, this mama is signing off. Alrighty, y'all. Cheers.